Most of the time when the term marketing is used, it's used to refer to advertising, communication, events, and social media marketing. This is also the case with a lot of retail companies where marketing is used primarily for its communication aspect. However, marketing is actually more than just advertising and communication. According to the American Marketing Association, marketing is an organizational function and a set of processes for creating, communicating, and delivering value to the customers, and for managing customer relationships in ways that benefit the organization and its stakeholders. In this course, we are going to go through the fundamentals of marketing and explain why and how it should be applied to product development and buying, merchandising and allocation, store expansions and choosing new locations, and finally, marketing communication. We're going to explain all the concepts and connections with examples from the retail industry, and in between we'll apply what we've learned on real-life case studies. So let's get started. In order to be able to create and deliver value, we need to understand the needs, wants, and demands of our target market. Needs are the basic human requirements, such as food, air, shelter, and entertainment. Wants are specific objects that satisfy the needs. For example, you might need food, but you specifically want a hamburger. Someone who's vegan might want a salad. So you have a common need, but your wants are different. They are shaped by who you are and other influences such as society, your habits, or your culture. Demand is a want backed by the ability to pay for it. For example, many people might want a Ferrari, but only if you have the means to actually pay for it. This is important while creating and sourcing products. What you need to measure is the actual demand for the product and not only how many people want it. There are 8 demand states for a certain product or service. Negative demand: consumers don't want the product at all costs, they even wish to avoid it. Non-existent demand: consumers are not aware of the product or not interested in it. Latent demand: consumers have a certain need that is currently not satisfied by any product on the market. Declining demand: consumers are slowly shifting away from a certain product. Irregular demand: a demand exists, but it's seasonal in nature and not consistent throughout the year. Full demand: consumers are buying the entire quantity of the product on the market. Overfull demand: demand is higher than the current supply of the product. Unwholesome demand: there is demand for a product that has negative social consequences. Marketers should be able to identify the states of demand and the causes behind such state, and implement a plan to shift undesirable states of demand towards desirable ones. For example, a buyer or category manager could identify areas relevant to the brand where there is latent demand. That is, there is a certain need, but this particular need has not been met by any existing products on the market. This is a great opportunity for new product development or for finding manufacturers that can create and supply such product. The other side is the declining demand. If the buyer can see that the demand for a certain product in the portfolio has been steadily declining, and this product contributes a lot to the business or the category, this is the time to start shifting towards other products or finding ways to develop other products that will fill the gap in sales from this declining product. Another example is for irregular demand or seasonal products. Many companies overcome such irregularity by finding other uses for the same product and educating their customers about such uses, and thereby shifting demand from a seasonal one to one that's consistent throughout the year. The same strategy can also be applied to declining demand, and in the next case study, we're going to see a great example. In 1846, Arm & Hammer began preparing bicarbonate of soda for commercial distribution. At this time, the product was used only for baking, and hence the name baking soda. The product was very successful, and the company was booming. However, most products have a life cycle, and eventually the demand starts declining, which is what started to happen for Arm & Hammer by 1960s, when people started going for prepackaged baked goods and baking at home was not as before. The demand for baking soda as a product for baking started declining. The company started applying a repositioning strategy where it found other different uses for its product, the baking soda, other than baking. It started creating different products with different packages using the same ingredient. Then, it started communicating those uses to its consumers and educating them about all the benefits of baking soda. On the website, you can see how they communicate that baking soda can actually be used as a deodorant for carpets and fridges, as well as for pool maintenance. And it worked. Sales started picking up again, and the negative demand state has been shifted to a positive one. This is a classic example of using marketing, and in particular positioning, which we are going to explain in another course, to create and expand demand for a product. And this is why we believe that marketing goes hand in hand with product design and development and buying at a retail business. At any given time, a company should be listening to the market and analyzing product sales data and identifying demand opportunities or demand shifts and feed this back to the product development and buying process so that it can create or source the product satisfying this demand. And then the marketing communication side should go again and communicate the value of those products to the consumers and how those products match those needs. Such a proactive process gives a retail business a competitive edge, as it will always be ahead of the competition and in many cases even ahead of the market itself, such is the case of creating demand where it was actually non-existent. So in order for a retail business to be able to compete in today's hyper-competitive market, it needs to shift from the old model of make and sell products to the new model of value creation and delivery. The retailer chooses the value that it wants to deliver based on customer segmentation, targeting, and positioning, and then creating the value through product design and development, and finally, communicating this value to the customers. One of the biggest mistakes that we see often in retail, especially in companies that end up struggling, is trying to be everything for everyone. However, a company can rarely satisfy everyone, especially a retail business that has to develop or source thousands of different products. Instead, retail companies should study the market and identify segments that represent groups of buyers and then examining geographic, demographic, psychographic, and behavioral differences among those buyers, and then decides which group represents its perfect target market. Geographic segmentation divides the market into different geographic areas, such as states, regions, counties, or neighborhoods. The company then decides whether it wants to operate in all the areas or specific ones. If it chooses to operate in all the areas, it will need to adjust its product assortments to local variations. For example, Walmart, Sears, Kmart, and Bed Bath & Beyond allow local managers to stock products that suit the local community. Sometimes they allow their local managers to stock products that are not carried in the area due to the absence of other retail chains. For example, Bed Bath & Beyond in Manhattan started carrying wall paint. Such a product was not stocked in other Bed Bath & Beyond in suburbs due to the presence of Home Depot and Lowe's. Retailers use such geographic segmentation together with demographic segmentation to guide them about potential area for new store openings. For example, a company called Claritas has developed a geo-clustering approach called PRISM, which stands for Potential Rating Indexed by Zip Market. This approach classifies and segments U.S. neighborhoods by zip codes, where you can enter the zip code and find out about the demographics and lifestyles of consumer segments in this area. They have created different segments with personas assigned to them. For example, when we look at the urban elders, we find that they are more likely to be renters, they enjoy cultural options, they would be attending marathons, museums, and other local events. This persona is likely owning a Mercedes, shops at Bloomingdale's, flies JetBlue, and listens to all news. Such segmentation is not only useful in choosing store locations, but also in creating product assortments for each store location. Then the company decides which segment would represent the greatest opportunity, and this would be its target market. As we could see from the previous example, demographic segmentation includes age and life cycle stage, gender, income level, generation, and social class. People could belong to the same demographic group, but have different psychographic profiles. In psychographic segmentation, customers are segmented based on psychological and personality traits, lifestyles, or values. Some of the groups identified by the VALS framework for psychographic segmentation are innovators. These tend to be successful, sophisticated people with a high self-esteem. They favor upscale brands. Thinkers are mature, satisfied people who are motivated by ideals. They favor durability, functionality, and value in products. Achievers, successful, goal-oriented people with a focus on career and family. They favor premium products. Experiencers, young, impulsive people who spend a lot on fashion and entertainment. Believers, conservative, traditional people who are loyal to established brands and favor American products. Strivers, trendy and fun-loving, but they don't have a lot of resources. They like stylish products that resemble the purchases of the rich. Makers, practical, humble people who like to work with their hands. They favor American-made products that have functionality. Survivors, old people who don't like change. They tend to be loyal to their favorite brands. Behavioral segmentation divides buyers based on their knowledge of the product and their response or attitude towards it. Such segmentation could be based on many different factors, such as benefits. Users could be segmented based on what benefits they are seeking out of the product. User status, whether they are non-users, ex-users, or regular users. Usage rate, light users or heavy users. Readiness stage, unaware of the product, aware but haven't tried the product, interested in the product, or have the intent to buy the product. Loyalty status, they could be hardcore, split loyals, shifting loyals, or switchers. The segmentation based on loyalty in particular can play a big role while making pricing decisions. Retailers that mainly have a customer base of shifting loyals or switchers might not be able to build pricing power and should be very cautious about raising their prices. Finally, behavioral segmentation could be based on attitude. There are 5 attitude groups, and these include enthusiastic, positive, indifferent, negative, hostile. The importance of segmentation and identifying the target markets is that it will be used later on in many aspects of running the retail business, such as identifying the right store locations, building the right product assortments, choosing the right pricing strategy, designing the value proposition or offering, and crafting the right marketing message. Let's watch this 2013 ad campaign for Michael Kors, and I want you to try and guess the target market for Michael Kors and the typical customer profile. So from the video, we can infer a few things. Michael Kors is a luxury brand. It's targeting young, affluent customers who are always on the go. Michael Kors customers drive luxury cars and fly private. Actually, this is what Michael Kors was trying to be. In the fashion industry, there's a hierarchy that's the fashion pyramid. Fashion brands are segregated based on who their target market is and consequently what their product offering is. At the very bottom, you will find the mass market brands. These brands are often value brands that try to appeal to the mass markets through affordable products that are highly accessible. The higher you go on the fashion pyramid, the more expensive the products get, and the narrower the target market is. Also, the more scarce the products become. So you go from value to premium and then to luxury brands. Michael Kors wanted to be a luxury brand, but it also wanted to appeal to everyone. Now you're starting to understand why this never works. Luxury customers don't want the products they buy to be seen on everyone else. It simply stops being luxury when it starts becoming accessible. And that's why the positioning, accessible luxury or affordable luxury, is a wrong strategy in fashion, because it's a confused strategy that lacks clear positioning. On its quest to expand quickly, Michael Kors started distributing their products through department stores, and not the high-end department stores like Neiman Marcus, but the mass market ones like Macy's. So two things started to happen. The brand got overexposed, which is exactly the opposite of scarcity, which characterizes luxury brands. Department stores started applying a lot of discounts on Michael Kors products, which has cheapened the brand. So it could no longer claim to be a luxury brand, and at the same time, it's not an affordable brand, and clearly, its target market is not driving luxury cars and flying private. This is a classic example of wrong positioning, and this is the main reason why segmentation and positioning should dictate the brand's distribution strategy, pricing strategy, and communication strategy. They all go hand in hand, and that's why the marketing fundamentals should be understood and applied by everyone making any of those decisions, and not only the marketing department.